This one. Who's that? Who is that? Who is this? With nose and eye and ear. Hi. Hi.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. As you know, we're here to celebrate Hope's life and to remember her legacy. So today we're going to hear from some beloved family and some old friends and just share in memory together. I'm Krista Bloom, and I'm the program manager for the Hope Fund. And I've just really been honored to be a part of this and putting this program together and to sharing community with all of you. So first, we're going to have a welcome song from Ezra Bloom, and maybe Epiphany Bloom might join him.
We'll see. Cool. So we'll see how long Epiphany hangs in there. Yeah, just to echo Krista, we're really excited to be here all together to remember Hope and to just think about, remembering her as a person and also the legacy that has kind of continued in her memory since for some years now. And we have some alumni of the program, some friends and family of Hope who are going to be with us today. We also have the current fellows for this coming year. So, this is usually the day that we do our big race in Prospect Park. But since we can't do that in person, we're hoping that you might consider making a donation at our website, hopeforbrooklyn.com. The link should be in the description of the video. I think we got that in there. But I just want to kick things off with a little song that I wrote a couple years back in collaboration with Emily Dickinson, posthumously. And I wrote it along for a cabaret that my dear friend Charlotte Lily Gaspard was putting together in honor of Hope. So we did that a couple years back, and I wanted to bring it back today. 1 second for technological shiftings around. When your world comes under attack, when the wind's just not on your back, when you're squinting for the light, thought you knew a couple things for a fact, had your itinerary packed, but those don't add up to flight. Feathers that perches in the soul, and sings the tune without the words, and never stops at all. The light just never returns, and you're stuck down here on the earth like a flightless bird to watch everything burn. Thought you knew a couple things to be true, but the takeoff has to be new. A world song without a word. Feathers that perches in the soul, and sings the song without the words, and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and strong must be the storm that would abash the little bird that kept so many warm. And with that, I'd love to kick it over and introduce our advisory board chair, Daniela Quiroz. So let's shift over to her.
Yeah. Thanks, Ezra. I have to say that was beautiful, and I think Epiphany is your new backup singer. So let me introduce myself. I'm Daniela Quiroz. I'm the Hope Reichbach Fund Advisory Board Chair. First of all, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us virtually. And these days of isolation, we are very grateful to see you all here. I met Hope in high school, and we stayed friends throughout college and after. She was full of energy and often hilarious. And she was a friend you could always rely on. So when Hope died, I was one of the many friends and family who came together in Ellen and Gus's backyard. You know, we were working to form a legacy for Hope, which eventually became the Hope Reichbach Fund. Since then, each summer since 2012, we've sponsored 5 fellows who embody Hope's values and passion for social justice and community-led activism. We've connected 40 college students with Brooklyn-based nonprofits, and many of our fellows maintain the connections they formed while interning at these organizations, and were even hired full-time after they graduated. So that's something that we're really proud of. During these unprecedented times, we are all facing a shifting landscape due to COVID-19, but we're still dedicated to continuing the efforts of the fund. And despite all the obstacles, we're very excited for this year's cohort of fellows who you're gonna meet soon during this program. Today would have been our 8th annual Run for Hope, as Ezra mentioned, which is one of our major fundraisers. It also falls on the anniversary of Hope's death, and it means the world to be able to gather in some way today. And making this event virtual wouldn't have been possible without our program manager, Krista, and Ezra, and obviously Epiphany. So I thank Krista specifically for her tireless work with us and all of her contributions over the last couple of years. And again, I want to thank all of you for taking the time today to join us. We wouldn't be able to operate without all of your community support we have received throughout the years. And because of you, we're all able to remember Hope together. Now I'm going to hand it off to a few folks who are all very close to Hope, so you can hear a little bit more about her. First, it's going to be Councilmember Steve Levin, who is Hope's boss, and then close friends of Hope's Julia Kaplan-Tost, John Weidman, and Gianna Palmer. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Thank you, Daniela. And I just want to thank everyone for being out here virtually this morning. And Ezra, the music was beautiful, so thank you. Tapped into Hope's spirit really wonderfully, so thank you. You know, I think kind of where we are right now in our city and in our world at large, the importance of community, real community, local community, the importance of mutual aid organizations and grassroots organizations are more important than they ever have been before. They're more important now than in normal times, and it's very gratifying to know that Hope's legacy and the work that everybody here has done for the last 8 or 9 years has added to that real community, and has added to that fabric, and has reinforced that fabric. The fellows that have come through the program have made connections and have added to the work of really wonderful and amazing not-for-profits that are out there pushing for the right things right now as we speak. I mean, just as a small example, I chair in the council the General Welfare Committee, and we had our first virtual hearing at the New York City Council this week, and it was in my committee on a piece of legislation to make sure that everybody that's in a congregate shelter, so a single adult shelter in New York City, and anybody who's living on the street or in the subway has access to a private hotel room, so that they're not at risk or in harm's way, or at risk of falling sick to COVID. And that bill I worked on with a coalition of partners that a lot of the organizations that we work with in the Hope Reichback Fund were the partners. So Vocal, Legal Aid, I'm blanking if there are any others, but the really essential components to this conversation are these organizations that we have built these partnerships with and these relationships with, and so it's really gratifying. I was thinking about this last night, just of I think it was the first cohort that Ben was in, and he went to Vocal. Is that right, Ben? Is that the first cohort? I think so, right? And what a wonderful organization fighting for good that is, and how there's a family that we're part of through hope. And even, a lot of us that are on this call never knew Hope, but we do know her. You all know her, and that's a wonderful, it's a really wonderful legacy for a person to have. And so we honor her, and we keep her in our hearts. But I think it's just an incredible way to do that, and that's all a testament to all of your work. Everybody here that has dedicated themselves, and especially Ellen, who is the glue that keeps us all together, for sure. So I thank all of you for being part of this once again this year, even if it's not in person. But we know that the work continues, and that the mission of this fund is as strong as ever and as needed as ever. So, thank you all.
Thank you, Steve. Nice to hear from you. My name is Julia. I went to Hunter High School with Hope, and we remained friends through high school and college and into our early budding careers in New York City. Hope would be like, what's the phrase? Rubber to the ground right now during this time. I'm just trying to think. She'd be, as Steve just mentioned, like running around. She'd be super active. I think she'd probably have a mask like hanging from her ear, maybe falling down in some capacity, but she would be working so hard right now for her community, which was something that she always did. And as Daniela spoke, is was the driving force to creating this fund, which really, I mean, it's crazy to think how many years it's been going now and how many wonderful fellows we've had who are continuing their work. I love hearing about it. I pulled out my old computer, my old laptop yesterday to look for some photos and get some inspiration to kind of think back. And some things popped up immediately. I had a Microsoft Word document with lots of musings about hope from me and from various friends, which was amazing to read about. I found pictures from trips that we'd been on and just fun times that we had in high school and college, which are always a hoot. And my email popped up with a letter, a cover letter that I wrote to try and get a job, I guess, for Chuck Schumer in 2010 or something. And what I wrote on there was, my friend Hope Reichbach recommended me for this job, and then I went on to try and sell myself. Spoiler, I didn't end up working for Chuck Schumer, but that was part of the inspiration too for this. Hope was always working to get her friends jobs. She was just a natural connector in her community, in politics, and we wanted to be able to spread that to a new generation of people, to use Hope's network, her community, people who were so dedicated to her because she was so dedicated for them. And so two kind of qualities that I was really thinking about Hope was her authenticity and what a hard worker she was. And those are great qualities, and they're great, especially when they're intertwined as they were with Hope. She worked a lot of jobs in high school. She waited tables, she bartended in college, and obviously she worked for Steve. And it was great as a friend of Hope when she got a new job, because it meant that we got new friends, because she seamlessly integrated her colleagues into our new friend group. There wasn't like a daytime Hope and a nighttime Hope. There was Hope. And I think that that's something that made her so successful, in her early career, and something that made us all love her so much. She brought the same kind of enthusiasm and reality and authenticity to a community center where she was meeting people or waiting a table at Two Boots, that she then brought to the party in the evening with all of her friends from high school and college. And so I will just always remember that she was a wonderful, funny friend, committed to her community and committed to her network around her. And we are, continue to be devastated by the loss of her. But this is a really wonderful way to connect with people, especially on this rainy day in this new crazy world. And I'm honored to be here with all of you. So thank you so much. And thank you to Krista and Daniela and Ellen and Steve and the people who really kept this fund alive. It's a huge testament to Hope, and I think does well by her memory. So thank you all.
Thank you, Julia. And thank you, Ellen, for continuing to lead us in continuing, Hope's really important efforts. It's really nice to, see everybody here, even in isolation. And Julia, what you just said is so true and resonates so much. Hope put maximum effort into everything she did, including being a friend. And so, I think all of us feel so lucky to have been on the receiving end of those efforts. And I wanted to recount a memory that just kind of spoke to that quality in her. And, thinking through all of the memories of Hope has been just a really kind of nice and joyful activity during this very weird time. I actually found myself kind of wishing we were all, as obsessed with our phones back then as we are now, so we would have more pictures. But the ones that we've got and the memories that we have are really special. And, I kept kind of coming back to this one memory that was pretty unremarkable in the moment, but, pretty representative of kind of what made Hope special to me, one of the many things that made Hope special. So I'm going to pull up a photo real quick. assuming the technical powers that be allow me to do so. I think that worked. So this is a photo of Hope and I in, I believe it was December 2009, at a bar on the Upper West Side called High Life. I bet that Julia was probably there too, on that night, or maybe the night before, maybe the night after. We were going to High Life pretty much all the time during those times. And you know, this was our winter break in college. Hope was at NYU by this time, so she was in the city all the time. I was coming home all the time as well. I was going to school in Providence, and so we had kind of like a little crew that had formed that would frequent High Life, and this was sort of a satellite crew from, you know, the big crew that orbited Hope in high school, because she had a whole solar system of friends at all times. And so Hope and I, you know, we'd spent a ton of time with each other in high school, and I definitely would have called us good friends. But I don't know if I would have called us close friends, you know, through those years. And, you know, given, again, she had a solar system of friends, given how in demand her friendship was, I considered it good fortune just to call her a good friend, and to ask for more almost would have felt selfish. And that's kind of, you know, how things were up until those nights at High Life. That's kind of how I assumed things would be. And again, I was grateful for it. But then one of those nights when, you know, there was probably 6 or 7 of us all just hanging out, talking, you know, Hope kind of just plopped down next to me and just started asking me like a ton of questions. I will never forget this. You know, there were frivolous questions like, you know, you want to go grab another drink? But also, you know, she just started like, it's basically interrogating me, I'm not gonna lie, about my life, about my family, about my childhood, about my hopes, my dreams, my aspirations, my insecurities, like everything. She just started asking a ton of questions. And it's kind of like, you know, all the stuff that you can go through 10 years of knowing someone, which at that point, you know, Hope and I had been hanging out for 10 years, but not really actually know about unless someone takes the really brave and really empathetic step of just asking. And I was really touched by that. And I started asking her a lot of questions too. And somehow 10 years after, you know, we had first met and spent so much time just kind of around each other as friends, we started to get really, really close in an entirely new way. And it was solely because Hope just had the courage and the empathy and the, you know, effort level to just be like, you know what, I could be like, I'm friends with this guy. I could be like really good friends with this guy. Let me see what that's like. And so that conversation continued over, you know, multiple nights and multiple years. And I know that a lot of people and many people on this call had moments like that with Hope that they're so grateful for. And so I don't remember exactly what night this picture was taken, but I know that it was after the point at which we had crossed over from good friends to close friends. And I will be forever grateful for that. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, John. I think I'm next. That was really lovely to hear that story. I didn't know that story, so thank you for sharing. I'm Gianna Palmer. I'm a friend of Hope's that we met when we were freshmen in college at Wesleyan in Connecticut, and we stayed friends even after Hope transferred to NYU. So August will mark 10 years for me of living in New York. And I wanted to talk about this a little bit because so much of my introduction to New York, both the place and the sensibilities of the place, came through Hope. Hope was the first person to tell me that I crossed streets incorrectly. Some of you may have heard a version of this story before, but it feels appropriate for today. I learned early in our friendship in Connecticut that her version of being a pedestrian involved gauging the flow of traffic and crossing streets by instinct, even if this meant going against all visible traffic lights and signage. And she always did this successfully and without flinching, but when we were together, I struggled to do the same. Usually, it would go something like this. We'd be walking together on campus. We'd approach an intersection and Hope would suddenly dart across the street. I would freeze. By the time I worked up the courage to follow her, any oncoming cars would have noticed my hesitation and braked awkwardly. Then I'd be self-consciously walking across the street only to be greeted by Hope, who would laugh in my face and say, "You are so Oregon." Which is where I grew up. She always said it lovingly, of course. But then came my first summer in New York City when I landed an internship at the New York Daily News, which I should definitely add, Hope helped me get that internship. As Julia mentioned, Hope loved getting her friends jobs. And hello to Joanne Wasserman, who I think is watching this live stream, who was my boss that summer. So that first summer was formative, and I did spend a lot of it with Hope. That summer, I learned the difference between an uptown and a downtown train. I learned Manhattan was an island and where Brooklyn and the Bronx, et cetera, were in relationship to Manhattan. Even when I wasn't with Hope, she was always a text away, and she was totally happy to answer whatever subway questions I had at that moment. She was very generous and very unjudgmental that way. Best of all, that summer I learned how to responsibly disobey traffic laws as a pedestrian by crossing against the light, and that's still something I do all the time. So now, as I approach a decade of life in New York, I only wish that Hope were here to see me now. So that is my memory that I wanted to share, and now I want to introduce two really special members of our community, Eliza and Ben, who are two Hope Fund alumni. They're both wonderful. I've gotten to know them a bit through the years, and they have stayed connected to our community after their fellowship, and they really embody Hope's legacy and commitment to social justice. So let me hand it over to them. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks so much, Gianna, as well as Steve, Julia, and John. Hello? Okay, cool. Sorry, technical difficulties, guys. Yes, like I was saying, thank you so much to Steve, Julia, John, Gianna. It's been really nice hearing a little bit more about Hope on a more personal level. So my name is Eliza Khan, and in 2018, I had the privilege of being a Hope Reichbach Fellow. I first learned about Hope through an internship fair at my school back when I was a junior at Brooklyn College. This organization in particular stood out to me because it was based on the legacy of a girl who was around the same age as I was and had already done so much for her community. Prior to my involvement with the Hope Fund, I always just assumed that to really make a difference, you would need years of experience to even try. And yet here was this girl who was already doing it. And I don't think it was until I was really exposed to Hope's story and this organization that it actually occurred to me that I was also capable of doing a lot more than I had thought possible. And I felt even more strongly about this after I completed my fellowship at Brooklyn Defender Services. Um, Hope especially was a living embodiment of how much we can accomplish as everyday citizens and especially as young people. My experience with the fund has made me more confident, more optimistic, and even more driven by the fact that I can also make a difference in issues that I'm passionate about. And I've been able to carry this frame with me throughout my career in school, as well as other organizations I've worked with. So I've been incredibly grateful for this experience, and it's only been made better by the fact that I've been able to continue working with the Hope Fund to bring about the next generations of leaders in Brooklyn. So this has been a really great experience for me before and after. And now I want to hand it over to my friend Ben to also say a few words about his experience.
Thanks so much, Eliza. I look back to the winter of 2012. I'm in my second year at Hunter College, trying to figure out what to do with my life. And I come by the Hope Reichbach Fund Fellowship. I apply. Fast forward to the spring. I'm sitting down for an interview with Becky Karasik and with Ellen. They tell me to say more about myself. I respond, I like to go shopping. And Ellen responds, and so did Hope. Next thing, I'm in and part of the inaugural cohort. That summer, I spent with Vocal New York. They treated me as a family. They challenged me and my biases. They woke me up. And the following summer, I interned with Steve and had a full circle moment, being in the same seat and working with the community as Hope did. And from then onward, I took to waking up, to learning more about the community, and to working with folks that were less fortunate and that were marginalized. Today, I work for the Youth Activists Youth Allies Network, which prepares teens across the city to be activists in whatever career they choose. And I also do global work to ensure that children have quality education. So 8 years ago, at a time of uncertainty and challenge, and a time of uncertainty and change in my life, I had Hope to guide me. And I'm so glad that Hope is here for our 2020 fellows. Thank you.
Cool, thank you so much, Ben. And now I have the pleasure of introducing this year's cohort, AKA this new generation of leaders. If they are on now. Okay, yeah, and I'd like to start with Alan. If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and what drew you to the Hope Fund.
Thank you, Eliza. My name is Alan. I'm a sophomore studying history and political science at Columbia University. So having grown up in Brooklyn all my life, I was drawn to this opportunity because of previous experience canvassing and working at Senator Gillibrand's office. I was especially inspired by Hope working with the ACLU to sue the previous administration for illegal military tactics because civil rights is an area I'm really interested in. And I really look forward to this summer as a way, especially amidst this coronavirus pandemic, to assist communities develop leadership skills, and affect social change. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Alan. And now, Essence, if you could do the same for us, that would be great.
Thanks, Eliza. Good morning, everyone. My name's Essence Deris, and I'm a first-year student, class of 2023 at Smith College. And I'm drawn to the fellowship because just as Hope, I aspire to be a Brooklyn community advocate. I wanted to dedicate my summer and eventual career to combating the educational injustices public students like me faced while completing my education in the public school system. To do so, I plan on working alongside community-based organizations this summer and throughout my college career to gain knowledge and experience in solutions to educational injustices. Then, similar to Hope's passion for justice, community canvassing, and political activism, I want to voice the concerns of the Brooklyn community and probable solutions to local government. My goal is to actively be a part of creating an engaging and equitable learning environment for the millions of public school students educated in the New York City system. Thus, I am extremely grateful to have this opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Essence. And now we'll hear from Nuzat.
Hi, I'm Nuzhat, and I'm a sophomore at Hobart and Williamsburg colleges. I've been involved in, I guess, the field of activism since I was in high school. And when I came to find out about Hope, the Hope Reichbach Fellowship, I looked into her and I was immediately inspired by her commitment to activism since being in high school. The fact that she went up against a institution of a lot of power and sued them because of injustice really reached me. And so I want to, I guess, embody that and follow that path and commit myself to social activism in the Brooklyn community and in the greater New York City community.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that, Nuzat. Kayla, could we hear a few words from you?
Hi, so my name is Kayla. I go to Brooklyn College. I am a junior, and there's a lot that really drew me to this. But I would say the first thing that stood out to me was that she was born in Brooklyn, which means a lot to me, as I'm sure everyone else. But it was also the fact that she was a woman that had such a passion for change, despite knowing the adversity women in most, if not all, fields face. And I feel like in many places, but definitely in Brooklyn, people always say they want to make a difference. But to read about someone that was actually willing to put in the work to make this difference was truly inspiring. You know, when I read that her father was an attorney and that her mom had like a long history with advocating on behalf of like teachers and stuff, I was just quite surprised with that. My mom and stepfather are both in law enforcement, so they pretty much dedicated their lives to it. I knew like from a young age that whatever I wanted to do, I wanted to make a difference and see that change in some way. So that's why I decided to become a lawyer. I also just want to mention that I read that she was really outgoing and vocal with her opinions. And I think that's where we connect the most. Like, even though I don't know her personally, I didn't know her personally. I have pretty much most of my life been a mix between shy and outgoing. But I think the outgoingness comes when I speak on subjects that I'm passionate about. And when I'm doing whatever I can to meet that goal of change. And so I just want to really thank you guys for this opportunity.
That's awesome, Kayla. Thank you so much for that. And last but not least, Amandi, could you share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Amandi Pereira, and I'm a sophomore at Swarthmore College. And what drew me to the fund initially was just its emphasis on social justice in memory of a person that was so committed to her community, and seeing her community thrive and prosper in spite of difficulties really Hope's tenacity and efforts to build power in her in Brooklyn from the grassroots level is what really inspires me about her, especially as someone who comes from a community of more like marginalized people, mainly like people of color and immigrants. Hope's commitment to grassroots activism, inclusion, and community power is what I hope to emulate throughout the summer during my internship and hopefully in my future career. Yeah, basically, her commitment to social justice and community power, in spite of difficulties, in spite of her age, and like her being a woman as well, is what really inspired me about Hope. Thank you.
So now it's my pleasure to introduce Charlotte Lily Gaspard with the Midnight Radio, a lifelong friend and former babysitter of Hope.
Okay, I think I am now unmuted. If I'm not able to be heard, please someone wave to me. Okay, good. So I'm Charlotte, and I had the honor to know Hope her entire life. I actually got to babysit her when she was little, and I have so many fond memories of playing games with her and making up stories and sitting by her bedside talking later into the night than I should have let her stay up. So today I'm going to sing a song for you that was composed by Sabrina Chapp, and the music, shout out to Ezra Bloom, who helped me with the music since I don't want to play the piano today. If you want to let the sun in, you got to open up those curtains, and pretty soon you'll see the light come in, brighten up your floor. Pretty soon you feel like dancing, maybe baby some romancing. Pretty soon the blues will pack right up, march right out your door. Now you can sing most anything, baby, don't be afraid. And you will see when you are free all the lovely changes your joy has made. Shake that caboose. You gotta let your heart loose. You gotta let the outside in, not be blue no more. Now move those hips and soon your lips will easily start to rise. And pretty soon that happy tune will be in everybody else's eyes once you begin to let a little of that outside in. Pretty soon the blues will pack right up and march right out. They'll pack right up and march right out. They'll pack right up and march right out your door. And now I would love to introduce a moment of silence so that we can all be together in a quiet moment, thinking of and honoring Hope's amazing legacy and reflecting on all the wonderful stories and memories that we have.
So I'm going to close out by thanking everyone. I can't believe this team. I just can't believe this community of people. Krista, you did an amazing job. We have the most incredible program manager who was preceded by her wonderful husband and the father of her child, Ezra, who helped put this together. And Epiphany, who was born on Hope's half birthday, is now in our hearts as well. Daniela, I could not do life without you. You are amazing. Your leadership, your commitment, and our other advisory board members who you haven't seen on the screen, but they work so hard. Alana, Diane, Ashley, Rachel, Sanda. There's a whole team of us that put this together. And I just want to say that while none of this brings Hope back, it does give her loss meaning, and we do have a future. And the 5 young people you met today, if they're part of our future, then we're in good shape, and we can't wait to spend our summer with them. And my last thank you is to our supporters and our donors. We couldn't do this without you. And I think we're going to end with a flash of our website. So if anybody wants more information about us, wants to contribute, wants to spend any time with us this summer, we welcome that. My heart is overflowing. And if Hope was here, she would absolutely love this. It was terrific. Thank you.